Hello and welcome back to my channel. That's slightly low down. I'm not going to crouch. Hope you're all well. It's Tuesday and I've delivered a whole batch of work to different people, different editors and people, and I'm anticipating an afternoon reading, I hope, unless something else comes up. In this freelance life, it'd be nice to take an afternoon off just to read. It's book club tonight. I haven't read the book, so I'm going to be defiant about that because I didn't like it at all. I've been thinking seriously about what I spend the next season reading, the next 2 and a bit months. That's all that's left of the year. And it's really important to me, this part of the year, in terms of reading. And it's important that I just don't let it kind of dribble away. I need to not necessarily read seasonal books at the right time or new books. I just need to have a nice plan of things to look forward to. And as you know, this house is just ridiculously full of books. I might be getting rid of 2 or 3, I don't know. But I do need to think about how I spend this next little while, not least because I'm going to be working hard again until the very end of the year on another book which I haven't begun yet. That's going to take a lot of work. Anyway, what I did was make some heaps of things. I thought the things I love fall into different genres, don't they? And why not pick piles in each genre and then whittle them down until you get, I don't know, 2 or 3 or 2 or 1 from each genre as your next reading pile, your next TBR. And that seemed quite a good way of doing it, to have a kind of sampling from different genres. I didn't include every genre. It's interesting, when I sat down to do this, certain genres leapt out. So I had a pile of fantasy books and thrillers, literary novels. Do you like my little cards? I was really pleased having piles of books everywhere with these on the top. Romance, biography, which includes memoirs, spooky, and Christmas. So you see, I did get a bit seasonal. And I had, when I was thinking about it, I thought, no, there's other genres as well that I haven't really dwelled on. Other things I could have picked out would have been books about music, TV and film, which I seem to have many of. As I said, this year I've rediscovered my love of rock biographies, TV tie-ins, novelizations, kids' books, YA, and science fiction. Oddly enough, science fiction didn't leap out as something I wanted to read more of at the end of this year. I think I spent quite a lot of the summer reading science fiction. So then I've ended up with a pile. First of all, it was 70, because there were 7 genres. I had 70 books, all of my study. And I thought, well, that's way too many for the last, whatever it is, 10 weeks of the year. Is it 10? 12 weeks of this year that's left. Really, the speed I'm reading at, 12 books, would be enough, I think. Now, do I count book club books as part of that or not? Are they extra? And also, I've got, I hate to admit this, pre-orders coming in from ages ago, books that don't really count as book buying, because I ordered things when they first appeared on Amazon and I can't even remember what they are. So they'll be nice surprises and they will disrupt this reading pile completely. I seem to have 2, 4, 6, 9, 10, 12, 14, 16 on this pile. Well, here's half of it. Too big to even carry. Here's some of it. Now they're all mixed up, actually. These were from the literary pile. And so is this. Right. Literary fiction. I hate that term. It's a term that snobs and idiots use. It was the only kind of fiction, according to university creative writing departments at one point. And I've said before, we would have been better off getting people to read right across all kinds of genres, popular genres, because people have to work in the marketplace, don't they? There's a very small part of that is literary fiction. Literary fiction kind of means no genre at all. I once had a terrible row with somebody about definitions of this. He was saying that literary fiction is fiction about posh people. Anyway, I've got a copy of Yellowface that has been recommended to me and everybody's read. Similar with Remarkably Bright Creatures, the octopus book, which has been waiting for me. Both seem good fun. Moscow Stations, this is our next book club book for this time next month, so it should go on the pile, I think. I think I should count them. And this Murakami has been following me about for a while. I loved Murakami, and it's a while since I've read him. I can't think what the last thing was, so I'd like him to be on the pile. So that's 4 straight off. Is that 4 of my 12? Fantasy, I managed to get down from 10 or whatever it was to just these 2, I think. The Bright Sword, Lev Grossman, which I got as soon as it came out, the huge Arthurian book, which I do want to read this autumn. It feels like the time for a big mythic book like that. My copy of The Song of Achilles, Greek Myths and Queers. I'm always in the mood for both of those. And I've had this nice copy for a little while. I think it's quite battered. The thing's ripped. Dust jacket. But I'm ready for that. I've heard lovely things about that. So there's 6. But that's crunched down a lot. 10 down to 2. Nonfiction. I seem to have 4. I love nonfiction. Every year, my big surprise at the end of the year when I enumerate which books I've loved, it's always a surprise that nonfiction features so heavily. I started reading this last night. I've had it for years and years, probably 20 years. A book of essays and memoirish bits by Tim Burton, some lovely, lovely illustrations, a Faber book. And I started reading this last night. And his account of being at Disney and just being paid to sit at a desk and draw monsters and invent things, and then being given what he calls a bit of money, $60,000, in the early 80s to make a short film with Vincent Price, stop motion. You think how lucky, what a job, what a career. And that was the difficult bit of his career. Jammy, I'd call him. But his taste is so wonderful and his aesthetic is so clear, and I've loved his films with a few exceptions over the years. The fact that he didn't read as a kid and still doesn't read is a bit perplexing to learn that at the beginning of this. He just watched films, and you can kind of see that because his pictures are great, but his stories are generally shite. Like Terry Gilliam, you know, they need someone to write the stories for them, and they need to stick to the stories. Terry Gilliam is fantastic when he does Time Bandits. Dreadful, meandering films elsewhere. Same is true of Tim Burton. Not a good, strong story sense. And I think you have to be a reader to have that. You have to know the shapes of stories. He knows what Grimm's fairy tales looks like. He doesn't know what they feel like from the inside. Anyway, rambling. Tim Burton. I will dip into this more, I think. So that's on my non-fiction pile, as is Lucy Worsley's Agatha Christie. Maybe it's time for this. It's very autumnal. This Muslim drag queen memoir is something I really want to read this season too. And this is another dipping in. This vernacular history of new romanticism in pop music in the early 80s. I can see I'll dip into it and just stay stuck in this book. But that's got to be on the pile too. So that's another 4, 4, 6. That's 10 already. Mystery came down to 1. And I've talked about this quite recently. This Carlos Ruiz Zafón, Labyrinth of the Spirits, the 4th book in this series. And it's 20 years since I began reading the series, so it feels like a good time to return to it. Yeah. So that's on the pile. Romance. Romance is such a catch-all term. Really, you'd put under it, it's women's contemporary fiction. Usually that's what it is. I'd like to broaden the term so it's gay men's contemporary fiction as well, with a kind of romantic theme. I wish that genre was bigger and more populous and involved older characters, not just Heartstopper. I've read a couple of things like that, and it should be a bigger genre. But Millie Johnson is a perennial favourite, and she always has great characters. And last time I read her, she had an amazing, really well-written gay couple at the heart of her drama. The one about everyone being, 6 people being, or 8 people being snowed into a pub at Christmas, a spooky pub in Yorkshire. And it was called I Wish It Could Be Christmas Every Day. And that was my favourite book at the end of the year. So I've kept a Millie back for, probably for closer to Christmas. And this is on my pile as well, Fanny Flagg, a sequel to Fried Green Tomatoes that I didn't know the world had or that I needed. It sat around for a while, so it's kind of there in my peripheral vision and maybe not essential at this point. And then for Christmas, I've obviously it's going to become more complicated, but the things I've put by are our Christmas book club book, O. Henry, and this lovely, lovely edition. I'm sure I've shown you these before. James Lovegrove, whose Doctor Strange novel I enjoyed, is one of his spooky Christmas books for Sherlock Holmes. It seems the right time of year, obviously, to do some Holmes. And Jeanette Winterson's Christmassy stories. Now, I'm up and down with Jeanette Winterson, as you know, but it's irresistible to me, a Christmas book by her. I wish it was a nicer copy. It's an American edition with really horrible paper. It's unusual. American books are usually nicer than British ones. What I would love is a little hardback like this of that. But you can't have everything. So I'm not overwhelming myself with Christmas books at this stage. Usually I've got a huge heap of them, and I do still, and they're on that bookcase there, but I'm not getting them all out yet. I will have 3. And as I said before, it's quite nice to read Christmassy things in November to start the party mood. So this is quite a lot. But it's a good pile, I think. It's a bit of nearly everything. There's no kids' books or young adult, I don't think. Missed all of that. And that probably will have to be added to. Just so long as I spend some more time reading, that's what I need to do. I feel like I've not been able to put the time in because any spare time I've had, I've been scribbling away at drawings for this book that I'm meant to be illustrating and diddling about with other bits of work. So I need to really relax, I think, and spend some time reading. I'm always saying that. The leaves are really turning now outside. There's yellow leaves falling off that cherry tree. I think it's a cherry tree. Yeah, because the squirrels go mad on it and the doves. Anyway, I shall go. I hope you're all reading nice things, and let me know what your plans are for the next 12 weeks. I think alongside summer reading, and making those plans. Autumn into Christmas reading plans are the best. I think they're exciting because it's like going on a kind of holiday. Um, and although I've not been on a holiday for ages, I love planning the reading for holidays. It seems like travel is just a pretext for having a pile of books. And going into seasons like this, it's exciting deciding where you're going to be going inside your head. Okay, I shall go. I think you should try the same thing out and make some of these flashcards of genres. Piles of 10, crunch them down to piles of 5, and then down to 3. And see if you can get them down to 1 or 2. And there's still a big waiting list behind you. I've just seen a science fiction novel that should be there, The Ministry of Time. Damn it. That should be on the list too. Okay, goodbye. I will see you again soon. I'm going to stop this so I can sit down and read. That's what I'm going to do. Talk to you soon. See you soon in the next episode